Well, I have to just say congratulations on making a person, Tony. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's I did a short amount of work. My wife did the majority of the work, which is typical in our family. She's the we call her the GSD, the get stuff done person. So, but yes,
Usually that
it's
way.
we're 2 weeks into it, and everybody keeps asking how our sleep is. My sleep's great. Leah, on the other hand, gets up twice during the night and feeds and does mom stuff. So I've
Yeah.
learned to sleep through just about anything over the course of my racing life.
Yeah. I'm sure you're used to it. Thank you for joining us.
We appreciate you having us.
Excellent. Thank you, Francisque and Judy and Tony. It is now just you and I for about half an hour. Great to see you, by the way. And allow me to extend my congratulations as well. Dominic James, I want to go a little deeper on that. You've had so many experiences in your life, winning great races and having adrenaline-packed moments. There are a lot of people out there who have had children, but for you, what is this meaning? Taking this step maybe a little bit later in life and bringing on your son, your dad. Nelson is now a grandfather. This is a big change. Just give us a little more insight into, what it feels like for you.
I can tell you, I can honestly tell you that the person that was probably the most excited was my father. He absolutely could not wait for this baby to get here, and to sit there on Sunday when I got back to the track and be there with 2 hours of sleep and just kind of be thriving on adrenaline, so to speak, on race day at Pomona, and showing him those photos. I mean, you could not knock the smile off his face. He was so excited. But it is, yeah, I think the one negative in my eye is just the age. I mean, obviously I'm 53 years old. It's not, I would not say it's the ideal time by any means, but it's funny. We know how social media can be and how finicky the 3 or 4% of the world is, and they don't mind sharing their ideas and saying how selfish it was. And Lee and I talk about it. We laugh about it a lot. It's like, I guess I would much rather be selfish and have this little boy in our lives and in the world than him not be in this world at all. So I'm all right being called selfish for being a 53-year-old father, but it's funny because I've talked to other people that are also in their mid to late 40s and early 50s that are fathers. And I honestly believe at this part of my life, this is the right time for me to be a father. I think 15, 20 years ago, being engrossed in motorsports as deep and heavily as I was, I'm not sure that would have been the right time for me to be a good father. So I feel like having some big ticket items recently taken off my plate, is going to give me a lot more time to be a father. And obviously, Leah and I being drag racers together, I mean, Dominic gets to go to the racetrack with us every week. So I don't, Leah doesn't have to sit there and go, well, dad's racing this weekend. He'll be home in 3 days. He'll see you Sunday night. So that's something I'm going to cherish, is knowing that we're going to have our son at the racetrack with us, like a lot of the other drag racers do, and have that community there that will be his extended family.
That is very exciting. It's funny how those people react. We spend a lot of time talking about the 3%, like you said, because they're so shocking with their just inane opinions, as if you could go back 20 years and find Leah, the love of your life, and meet her and recreate the things that are happening now. This was the right time for this to happen, clearly.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and things happen in the right times of your life. You just have to be ready for them when they do come. And honestly, that's been my entire life in motorsports. I mean, there hasn't been a master plan of anything. There wasn't by this age, I want to be doing this. And then 10 years later, I'm going to try this. And 2 years after that, I'm going to add this to the collection. And it was never part of a master plan. So I'm a big believer that things happen for a reason. And unique opportunities come at the right times.
All right, so let's talk a little NHRA drag racing. Multiple accolades this season. The 2024 Top Fuel Rookie of the Year, the Central Region Lucas Oil Top Alcohol Dragster Champion, running in different classes at the same time over the course of the year. And I would like to know, you've pretty much become drag racing's #1 pitchman. They put you on Pat McAfee. They put you on Dan Lebitard with Stu Gotts. You're going to places that have no clue about NHRA drag racing. You're preaching the gospel, like John Force would say. What was 2024 like for you as you tackled all of that?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed, and you look at my history in motorsports, 45 years worth. I've tried just about everything I could absolutely try that I've had opportunities to do. And, being able to do what I'm doing with NHRA now, I love drag racing. I love the environment. I love how when a fan buys a ticket that they can go literally right up to the ropes where our car is sitting in the pit area. They can talk to us, get autographs. They can see us do warm-ups in the pit area when the guys rebuild the motors. That is an environment I love now, and that we're kind of missing in some other forms of motorsports. So I love it. It's a huge family. It reminds me of times in motorsports where I had the most fun. And, to this day, now being an NHRA, I'm genuinely having fun racing again. It's a lot of pressure. There's nothing easy about it. But I've never wanted to do anything that was easy. I like things that are challenging, but I really love the NHRA environment. And, it's been fun to go do things with Pat McAfee and all these other media outlets and trying to get them exposed to what NHRA is about. So I think the one thing that's really struck the nerve with me this year, being a top fuel driver in the pro classes versus last year, was the amount of fans that have come, and they're like, we've watched you for years. We watched you in IndyCar. We watched you in midgets and sprint cars. We watched you in NASCAR. And if I'm lucky enough to catch them at the end of the day when I see them, I like to go, well, what did you think? And their number one, the top answer from everybody has been, we had no idea. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? So they said, we had no idea it was this exciting and that these cars were that powerful. TV doesn't do it justice. As much as we love being on TV, NHRA is a sport that for the first time fan, go to the drag races, go one time, go watch Top Fuel, go watch Funny Car, go watch Nitro Harleys and Pro Stock Bike, watch Pro Stock and Pro Mod. Then when you see it on TV, you have a greater appreciation for what you're seeing because you were able to see it, smell it, feel it, things that you don't get in any other form of motorsports.
Yeah, I agree and feel the same way. It's hard to convert person by person, and you did really a great job, Dan Lebitard. That's a big show. Pat McAfee, a big show. Do these people know anything like drag racing? You feel like drag racing has been pretty prevalent in the culture. Maybe movies like American Graffiti are a little too old now, but the concept of drag racing, two cars, sometimes four, accelerating from one spot to another, is that like how much education have you had to give these guys?
I think all of them have got a small taste of it at some point, but they really don't understand it. And then I think it's really hard. It was hard for me. I mean, I didn't understand drag racing till I really met Leah and really started attending events. And then for me, being a race car driver and a professional race car driver, what you see on TV is they start the car, the engine tuner twists a couple knobs, the driver does the burnout, they back up or twist the knobs again, the driver stages, and when the lights change, they haul ass down the racetrack. There is so much more to it than that. And when you get the opportunity to be around it and be that close to it, that is what set the hook for me of understanding how are they making these 11,000 plus horsepower cars go down 1,000-foot straight line, and those cars never go straight. If a car goes dead straight, it is slow, is what that means. So every fast run I've ever seen from everybody, those cars are moving around. The drivers are having to drive those cars. But it's just an experience that it is really hard to explain to people till you can get them there one time and they start seeing and understanding what they're seeing on TV.
Top Fuel Rookie of the Year. You've got a great resume, but at some point, the words on a paper, maybe when you started this season, was that a goal? I want to be Top Fuel Rookie of the Year, really NHRA Rookie of the Year, because you competed against Richard Gadsden and Daniel Wilkerson in the NHRA. Folks, if you don't know, the Rookie of the Year extends through multiple categories. And so Tony was competing against a bunch of really great racers in other disciplines of drag racing. Pro Stock Motorcycle, Richard Gadsden made 4 final rounds, and it was a very close vote. You did win it. How meaningful is that goal when you have such a long list that includes winning the Brickyard 400?
I will say this, if it was off of performance, Richard Gadsden would have definitely had this hands down. He did an amazing job in pro stock motorcycle this year. Daniel Wilkerson did an awesome job in the funny car. There were a lot of great rookies in all 4 classes this year, but it's the criteria is different for what they consider rookie of the year and why they do it. And it really wasn't a goal at the beginning of the year. The goal was, I told Leah and I told Matt Hagan, our funny car teammate, I said, my goal is to go out there and show up on Sunday and not look like it's my first race. That was my goal for the season, was to look like I've been doing this for years. And honestly, it's just literally you take it a week at a time. I mean, obviously I had a lot to learn at the beginning of the season. There was new tubing specs for the top fuel class this year, which was important for the safety side. My body weight, I'm 60 pounds heavier than my wife in the car. So for the crew chiefs, it was a big challenge this year trying to adapt to new variables in the class. They added 50 pounds minimum weight to the car for this year. So just a lot of variables that had changed in the equation that the crew chiefs were having to try to work around and figure out. So for me, it was just trying to do my job as a driver to try to somewhat not necessarily perfect the craft right now in our first season, but I wanted to go out there and I didn't want somebody, if they didn't know that I hadn't driven a top fuel car and competed in top fuel yet, I didn't want them to know the difference. And so that was really the goal. And for my peers that I had to race with and line up with, I mean, they have to have the confidence in you that you're going to do the right things and that you got the car under control. So I wanted to show my peers that we had learned and we're trying to do it the right way.
And you didn't really get any luck when it came to those round 1 opponents early on. If memory serves me right, first competition run, Justin Ashley, second competition run, Steve Torrance, something like that. Like the best levers in the business were the guys you met in the first rounds of competition in 2024.
Yeah, but if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best. So, I think the world of Justin Ashley and Steve Torrance and I are great friends now. And, to go up against those guys, I mean, you really, when you line up, you can't think about who's in that other lane, honestly. There's guys that have different routines and different preferences of, when they want to stage and how they want to stage. And those are important, but honestly, it's really controlling your own destiny in your own lane and controlling the variables that you're in control of. So, literally we're sitting in the car at Gainesville for the Gator Nationals. My first round, we're the first pair of the day. So you're sitting in the car right in front of the water box and you're listening to the national anthem. And thank God these cars don't have carburetors on it, because I would have had it flooded. I was clicking the throttle back and forth so fast because I was so nervous. There's no way the car would have started if it had a carburetor. But and you're lining up against Justin Ashley. So it's like, you just got to lock that out of your head. You just have to be focused and ready to go. And it was actually my best light of the entire season. I cut on him in the first round there, and it wasn't a guess. It was just, I was so amped up, so ready. My heart rate was so high. I could feel it beating in my chest. So it was a feeling I hadn't had for a long time, because everything I'd done in NASCAR, those were 3.5-hour races. So when you got in the car, you got in and you relaxed. You just tried to get yourself to relax, get in a rhythm. Not in drag racing. There is no rhythm. There is no relaxing. You want to get your heart rate up. You want to be ready to go, because that runs only, I went from driving cars for 3.5 hours to now driving cars that only go for 3.5 seconds. So you better be ready when it comes time.
That's so excited to hear you talk about that, because those that love the sport, we want someone to be able to explain this to the rest of the world, and you are just the perfect ambassador. So let's talk about Sonoma. You made a couple of final rounds this year, but to me, the maybe the best race of the season was Sonoma. You went to the final round against Antron, but you beat Sean Langdon, a multi-time world champion, multiple cross drag racing, arguably one of the best pure drivers, and then Justin Ashley. You beat those two and Ron August en route to the final, where you ran Antron Brown, and in the final, Antron beat you. You left first, but you guys had what, in my opinion, was released just a great communication at the top end of the racetrack, where you told him, you're one of the reasons that I'm here for this. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? And that's one of my memorable moments from this past season.
Yeah, and it was for myself too, and our team. We'd struggled really bad before Sonoma, and obviously the weekend before we raced at Seattle and had a really bad weekend there, and just we literally had a 3-hour meeting on Sunday after we were eliminated in the first round, and just came up with a different game plan. So we didn't know how the car was going to run, how it was going to react, if it was even going to make it down the racetrack without smoking the tires, but went to Sonoma with a different package. And we still needed to work on it some more, but it did get us to the finals, like you mentioned. And that conversation after we lost Antron, we had 2 cylinders go out at the top end, or it was going to be a close race if it wasn't for that. But when I got out the top end, I mean, you so badly want to win your first national race in a top fuel car, and you finish second to a buddy that. And the reason he's such a good friend is we spent a lot of time during the process of, Antron acquiring his team from Don Schumacher Racing, and Ron Capps acquiring his team the same way. And then for us personally, buying the Top Fuel team and Funny Car team from Don as well. So we all spent a lot of time together about how we were doing and what the process was, and making sure that we all agreed on what numbers were and budgets were and this and that. So it was like we all just kind of were a small band of brothers that were helping each other out through the process. And so when we got out the top end, I just thanked him. I said, I wouldn't be here right now in this sport if it wasn't for your help. And Antron spent a ton of time with myself and Leah and I to help get our program up and going and on its feet. So there was no shame to losing to Antron. And, looking back at it now, I mean, we lost to now the 2024 world champion. So not bad company to be in.
We spoke with Antron on day one of EPARTRADE Industry Week, and he had some very positive things to say about you and what your presence in NHRA drag racing means for the sport looking forward. You got some big announcements coming up. What can you share about you, your team, 2025? I don't want to step on news that has a schedule to be announced, but people are, not certain that you're going to drive. What can you share for the future? And if not, just tell us and we'll wait for the announcement. But if you can share something, we'd love to hear it.
Well, a piece of it will come out tomorrow, so you won't have to wait long on one of those items. And obviously, we've got PRI coming up, and for TSR and Tony Stewart Racing, next season will be our 25th year in motorsports. So we started with our wing sprint car teams in the World of Outlaw Series, and then 3 years ago added the Nitro teams. But really excited to have an anniversary year like that, and our program has done very, very well. Very blessed to have great partners, great drivers that drove for us throughout these 25 years, and accumulated a lot of great wins and stats along the way. So really proud of those guys, and that 25th anniversary is big for us. Something that isn't really a press release item, I'm going to be back in the Top Fuel car again next year. Leah has decided she wants to be a mom this first year. And I'll be honest, I mean, she is literally just over 2 weeks from having Dominic, and I am pretty confident in about 2 to 3 weeks, she would be ready to get back in a Top Fuel car. She absolutely looks amazing. Looking at her, you wouldn't even tell that she just delivered a little boy to us. So it's just amazing how strong and tough my wife is and what she does. But she does want to be a mom next year. And yeah, I'm kind of fighting it a little bit, but I guess the bonus to it is I get to drive a Top Fuel car again next year. So it's either way, I get to win either way.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I call that breaking news here on EPARTRADE. We are confirmed you'll be back in a Top Fuel dragster. I got a couple more questions. I want to talk about the Lucas Oil Series, the McPhillips family. 4 out of 5, 4 wins, 5 finals to become a Central Region champion. I know that not everybody understands that right below the Mission Food Series, professional drag racing, there's the Lucas Oil Series, which it's really professional drag racing at a slightly lesser budget with a slightly lesser schedule. You won a regional championship. That is a huge deal. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was fun. It really wasn't. It wasn't part of our schedule for this year. We'd actually just finished the 4-wide event at Charlotte and had flown to Chicago to do media for NHRA, and Ashley Wilson, who does our PR, has got to be really close with Rich McPhillips Jr. And she got a call from Richie, and they were talking about racing at IRP, which was a regional event that weekend coming up, and talking about wanting to run one of the cars that they were trying to sort some bugs out. And I said, well, I can be available. I can be there. And so we went to IRP. We ended up literally we were low qualifier every round, all 3 rounds of qualifying, and ended up winning the race. And Rich McPhillips and I, we're like 2 brothers that just like to needle each other a little bit back and forth. And I remember on Tuesday after the event, he called me and he goes, you're leading the regional points now. I'm like, how is that? I've only ran 1 event. I said, you've already ran 2 events in that region. He said, well, the guy that won the first event wasn't claiming in that region. So you can race in different regions. So there's 4 different regions for the sportsman class and top alcohol, dragster, and funny car. And you can race in all 4 divisions, but you claim what division that you're going to be competing for a championship with. And so that put us in the point lead. And I'm like, well, if we've done this, we just need to run 4 more, and hopefully we can try to contend for a championship. And here we are. So it was fun. I mean, I absolutely had a blast last year. I ran for McPhillips full time. So we ran regional races, ran all the national events, with the exception of Sonoma, I believe, or I'm sorry, Seattle. And so I had a blast doing it. It was, that family, they are family to me. And to be able to, we missed it short last year of winning the regional championship. Our teammate Mike Coughlin beat us. He had to win the event that we were both at to win the championship. All we had to do was just make it through the first round, and we locked it up and unfortunately lost in the first round. And Mike went on to win the event and win the regional championship. And the funny part was we're standing there getting ready to take pictures after his win, and he didn't even know he had won the regional championship. So it was nice to be there and be the one that got to tell him that he won it. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun this season to get to race with that family, and to I'm one of those believers that seat time is seat time. And I just listened to Davey Jr. a minute ago, and whether it's midgets, sprint cars, wing sprint cars, it doesn't matter. Super modifieds, I mean, anytime you can be behind the wheel, it's valuable time. So for me, the off weekends this year is when we ran the regional events, and that was 5 weekends that instead of taking the weekend off and sitting home or going and being on the lake or doing whatever we would have done on those off days, being at the racetrack and being in a race car is where I truly like to be. And I feel like it just makes you better every time you can get in a race car.
Very exciting. As we wind down the interview, I did want to ask you about a couple of things, future related, as in, room for improvement, right? The Pro Superstar Shootout is where drag racing will start in 2025 in Bradenton, and that's a race put on by the racers, the Professional Racers Organization. A month later, the Gator Nationals. I heard Jimmy Johnson was the first guest on EPARTRADE Industry Week. And in the interview, they were talking to him about his future, and he's talking about his passion for racing and how whatever he wants to do, it's got to make business sense, and it's got to give the opportunity for synergies and all of these things. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of that going on in drag racing. What more do you think, now that you've got your feet wet, you're a part of drag racing, you've seen how the machine works, what's next? What do you think NHRA should do? What do the racers need to do to continue to grow, to maybe entice someone like Jimmy Johnson to follow in your footsteps and come drag racing as opposed to some of the other options out there?
Well, I think NHRA is working on it. I mean, obviously, we've got a great TV partner with Fox right now, but just like NASCAR went through renegotiations for TV contracts, it's coming up next year. I think mid-season is when NHRA starts their negotiations. So the TV packages are really crucial for motorsports. Obviously, NHRA.TV has great coverage as well, but to be there and be on network television is big. And for sure, NHRA is going to land and have a home on network. It's just which one is it going to be? But hopefully, whatever package that ends up being will have a little more financial stability, and that trickles down to helping NHRA as a sanctioning body, and it helps us as competitors too down the road. So having that business model that makes it sustainable is very, very important in motorsports right now. These things don't run themselves. I mean, I had a conversation with someone that owns a horse, and they're like, race cars have to be way more expensive than horses. I said, I strongly disagree. If you don't want to run your race car for 6 weeks or 6 months, you can put it in the garage, turn the lights off, shut the door, and it doesn't cost you a dime at that point. A horse, if you don't ride it for 6 weeks or 6 months, you still got to feed it every day, vet bills, all those things. But it has to make sense financially to run these cars. And, we struggled the first 2 seasons as a team owner to we never did even come close to breaking even for the season. But at the end of this season, our books look a lot better. And I think next year we're finally going to be in a situation where hopefully we can at least break even for the season financially. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal for all these teams. Not everybody is a Connie Coletta and has a air service. The Torrance family do a great business in Texas. But for me, I'm a professional race car driver that, retired from NASCAR. I don't have that income coming in. So anything that I'm spending out of pocket is literally coming out of retirement that I have to live the rest of my life on. So definitely not complaining. I chose this. This is what I chose to do. And it's my job to go out there and raise the funds and generate the sponsorship to keep these teams going. So we're working at it, and it's coming. The great thing is we're seeing new partners, and you don't just see it with our teams. You see it across the board with NHRA. We're seeing new partners come into the sport that haven't been a part of it before. And, that's Brad Gerber and their staff do a great job at NHRA of bringing people to the racetrack, introducing them. And like I said earlier, you get them to the racetrack one time and show them what it's truly about and let them feel it, breathe it, smell it. It is an experience like no other. So just getting those people to the track has made a huge difference for us on our side of making this team financially stable.
You have done a great job with Renai and Rush and Dodge and all of your sponsors, and hopefully they are loving the experience with you. All right, confirm or deny. Antron told us yesterday, he let it slip like super casually, and I think maybe it's something that you've said, no, this can never happen. So confirm or deny. Grandpa Nelson Stewart is going to race something in the Lucas Oil Series.
I don't know that 100%, but I can confirm that he has talked to a lot of people between Antron and Bo and Randy Lynn Butner. He has a lot of interest in it. He's not the smartest guy. He's 86 years old. I mean, now we're turning into the parents all of a sudden. But I will say that Leah and I sat him down at Pomona and told him that, or I guess this would have been at Vegas. We talked to him, but we told him we knew he was talking to people. And it's the same conversation my sister and I have had. I mean, he still races Legends cars, 3/4 midgets. He's at the age, he's made it this far, and he's healthy. He takes great care of himself. If he wants to race, by God, we're not going to tell him he can't race. But Leah did give him the reality of he's probably going to get his butt kicked for a while, racing and drag racing. Sportsman classes sound like they're easy. They are definitely not. I have a great friend that races super gas. It's a 980 class. It's way tougher, in my opinion, than what I do in a top fuel car as far as what the driver has to do. So for my father to get involved in drag racing at this age, I think it's awesome that he has the interest. I definitely believe that you will see him in something at some point. We just don't know what it is. It's not going to be my car with my team. I can tell you that. It's going to be on somebody else's dime. But I think Antron's almost adopted him. So I told him, I said, as long as I get a couple things that I want when he passes on and moves on to the next life, he can adopt him, but he gets all the bills that come with him too.
It's funny because it sounds like he's negotiating his own deal and totally independent of you. If you mentioned Bo and Randy Lynn, they let me drive their dragster in Dallas earlier this year at the points race. And if that's the car that your dad's going to get to drive, if I can do it, he can do it. I highly recommend it. They're great. And I'm excited. Like, you're all in on drag racing, Tony. I really appreciate. I see Francisque and Judy are coming on, but you've meant a whole lot to the sport. You've done great things, and congratulations on your year. And go Nelson.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. We had an awesome season. The performance on the scorecard didn't look great, but the end of the season ended up being like no other. So winning Rookie of the Year and the regional championship, and the best win of my career came when Leah delivered our little boy to us. So we're going to have a lifetime of fun with him.
You're absolutely right. And I've been friends with your father for 25 years now, and he is a racer. We go out to dinner, he's still racing in his 80s, and he's just going to go out racing.
I think so. I think that's what he's going to be happiest doing. So, my sister and I came to the agreement a long time ago, as long as he's not a nuisance on the racetrack to everybody else and he's able to do it and has that desire, who are we to tell him not to do it? So we're behind him 100%.
He has a great shop in the back of his house. Yeah.
I think he's more proud of that shop than he is of me now.
Could be.
So maybe in the race industry week 2075 or whatever, we'll have your son on talking about you going racing, right?
It would not
Never know.
surprise me. I think it would be very hard to believe. And I promise you, Lee and I have come to the agreement. We're not pushing Dominic into racing by any means. It has to be his decision, just like it was mine. But if that's what he chooses to do, we'll be behind him 100%. And I would say most likely down the road, you'll have that same conversation we're having right now.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. And we'll
Thank you,
probably
guys.
see you next week in Indy. Thank you very much for being with us.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Looking for a quick fix of motorsports news? The Speed Sport Daily is what you need. It's a free racing newsletter delivered directly to your email every day. We'll cover the winners and the losers and tell you who's making news off the track. It's NASCAR, NHRA, World of Outlaw, IndyCar, and so much more. Go to speedsport.com today and get signed up for America's free racing newsletter and get your daily motorsports fix. The Speed Sport Daily.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
Scott Lewis & Associates, the sales, marketing, and branding specialist for the automotive performance industry since 1988. We get our manufacturers on track by opening an extensive distribution network, providing product training to sales staff, creating fully integrated sales and marketing strategies, building successful industry partnerships, attending trade shows, events, and races, offering first-class support to customers. SLAI delivers solutions that win you sales. To get in touch with an SLAI representative, call 516-378-6100. Go to scottlewisinc.com or email info@scottlewisinc.com.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crower Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crower Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crower Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crower, victory is within your reach.
For over 25 years, Wisconsin-based C-Tech Manufacturing has been engineering and manufacturing the toughest, most accessible aluminum tool drawers, cabinets, carts, and tactical storage solutions for America's hardest working professionals. Whatever you need to store and however you need to store it, put your trust in C-Tech Manufacturing. We build it better. Visit our new website at ctechmanufacturing.com or give us a call at 715-355-8842.
If you're watching this video, you might be wondering, what is WPC? WPC is a surface treatment designed to reduce friction and increase the strength of metal parts. As much as it might seem like a coating, WPC is actually a surface treatment. Think of it like shot painting, but the media is much finer, like talc. So what you're left with is a super hard, smooth surface that actually has some proprietary dry lubricants embedded within it. For more information, visit WPCtreatment.com.